You pray, you work hard, you try to do everything right, but somehow, blessings always seem to skip your name. You watch people cheat, lie, pretend, and they rise, while you stay stuck, asking the same question over and over, God, why not me? What if I told you, you're not being punished, you're being prepared? Because divine wealth doesn't come to those who beg for it, it comes to those who become it. In the next few minutes, you'll understand the secret rhythm behind divine timing, why God delays certain doors, and why the ones He finally opens change everything. This isn't a sermon, it's a revelation. We grow up believing that life and God are fair, that if you work hard, stay kind, and keep the faith, good things will eventually find their way to you. But one day, that illusion breaks. You see people who lie, manipulate, and betray being rewarded. You see honest souls collapsing under the weight of endless effort, and deep inside, something whispers, maybe goodness isn't enough. That's the moment most people lose faith, because they mistake delay for denial. They think God has favorites, that He forgot their name. But what if the truth is darker and wiser? What if what you call unfairness is simply a system too deep for human logic, a divine algorithm that doesn't reward performance, but alignment? You see, God's blessings are not wages for effort, they are signals of readiness. And when your inner world doesn't match the frequency of what you're asking for, He withholds it, not to punish you, but to protect you from self-destruction. Because nothing destroys a person faster than receiving what their spirit isn't mature enough to hold. Every blessing you ask for has a weight, and sometimes what feels like silence from heaven is simply God waiting for you to grow the hands strong enough to hold it. Delay isn't denial, it's divine calibration. Think about it. If He gave you everything the moment you asked, your character would collapse under the pressure of what your heart wasn't ready to carry. You don't hand a newborn a sword, no matter how much it cries for one. You wait until it learns to walk, until it knows what to do with power. That's how divine timing works. Not on emotion, but on expansion. While you complain about the delay, He's working in silence, shaping your patience, cutting your pride, teaching you to find peace in the unseen. Because the most dangerous thing God can do is say yes too early. So when the blessing takes longer than you expected, it's not because He forgot you. It's because He's building a version of you that can keep what you're asking without losing your soul in the process. God doesn't test your strength, He tests your alignment. Anyone can say, I'm ready for more. But He watches how you handle less. When the door doesn't open, do you curse the silence, or do you build in the dark? When people ignore you, do you seek validation, or stay faithful to the process no one sees? That's where the true examination happens, in the invisible season where nothing, because blessings aren't granted, they're mirrored. The moment your inner world starts to reflect gratitude, discipline, and order, the outer world aligns to match it. That's why some people rise quietly, while others stay stuck. Not because they're luckier, but because they finally stop negotiating with their old patterns. God doesn't bless confusion. He blesses clarity, and clarity only comes when you stop chasing timing and start mastering preparation. Every delay you hate is an X-ray of your alignment. If your thoughts are chaotic, your money will be too. If your heart is bitter, your blessings can't breathe. He doesn't need to test your worth. He already knows it. He's testing your resonance. He's asking, can I trust you with what you're praying for? Comparison is the silent killer of divine timing. It doesn't shout, it whispers. And before you know it, you're no longer walking your path. You're chasing someone else's. You scroll through their blessings like sacred proof that God forgot you. You see their new house, their marriage, their success, and something inside burns, not with hate, but with hunger. You don't realize it, but envy is worship in reverse. It's when your focus turns from gratitude to grievance. It tells heaven, I don't trust your timing, I prefer theirs. And heaven listens. So the flow stops, because divine blessings are frequency-based. They can't move through resentment. You can't attract what you secretly resent. You can't call abundance while envying the ones who have it. Every time you compare, you disconnect from the coordinates of your own calling. You step out of alignment with your process and enter a counterfeit race that was never yours to begin with. And here's the secret nobody tells you. God sometimes hides your blessing on purpose, to detox your heart from envy. He makes you watch others win, not to humiliate you, but to test whether you can celebrate without contamination. Because until you can applaud someone else's season without bitterness, you're not ready for your own harvest. Faith isn't a feeling, it's a currency. And like every currency, it only works when it's in circulation. You can't just say you have faith, you have to spend it. Every risk you take in obedience, every seed you plant when it doesn't make sense, every yes you give, even when fear screams no. That's a transaction in the unseen. Heaven doesn't respond to panic, it responds to proof. Faith is not waiting with folded arms, it's moving as if the door is already open. That's why the people who walk in faith often look insane, because they invest before there's evidence. They build the boat before the rain. They prepare the table before the guests exist. But that's the hidden law of divine economics. You don't receive because you believe. You receive because you acted while believing. The moment you put your faith in motion, heaven matches your movement. And when you move with purpose, even in lack, you become dangerous to every force that wanted you stuck. Because real faith rewrites timeline. It shifts probabilities. It turns not yet into now. Every miracle starts as a risk that looked irresponsible. Every abundance begins as obedience that made no sense. So if you're wondering why nothing's changing, ask yourself, have I been believing or have I been circulating my faith? Because in the divine system, faith that stays still loses value. There are seasons when God's silence feels like rejection. You pray, you fast, you give, you wait, and still, the door stays closed. You start asking, did I do something wrong? But what if nothing's wrong? What if the delay is the only thing keeping you safe? Sometimes he withholds what you crave because you're not yet strong enough to carry it, and he'd rather protect you from premature success than watch you collapse under the weight of what you begged for. We think unanswered prayers mean neglect, but heaven knows timing is protection. You don't give a sword to a child. You train their hands for battle first. That's why some blessings come wrapped in confusion. The silence you're cursing is often the surgery you need. He's not ignoring you. He's aligning the version of you who can hold what you asked for. Because here's the truth. A blessing given too early becomes a curse. Money that meets immaturity multiplies chaos. Love that meets insecurity becomes obsession. Influence without healing breeds arrogance. So he waits. Not because you're unworthy, but because he's still fortifying your foundation. The longer it takes, the deeper the roots. And roots don't show. They strengthen underground. That's why some people look like they're ahead, but when the storm comes, they fall. And you, the one who waited, you stand. Because what's built in delay cannot be destroyed in daylight. Everyone wants to be chosen, but no one wants the process that comes with it. You see the crown, but you don't see the crushing. You admire the anointing, but not the isolation. Being chosen doesn't start with applause. It starts with subtraction. Before God multiplies you, he divides your life. He removes who can't go. He exposes what can't stay. He burns the bridges that lead you back to smallness. You'll think you're being punished, but you're being purified, because the path to divine elevation always begins with dismantling. He breaks your dependence on validation, on comfort, on certainty. You'll lose people you prayed to keep and find peace in places that used to hurt. The cost of becoming chosen is learning to walk when no one claps anymore, to give when no one sees, to trust when nothing makes sense. Every no you receive is a brick in the altar of your becoming. Every delay is a classroom where endurance is taught. And one day, when you finally stand in the place you were begging for, you'll realize he didn't make you wait to punish you. He made you wait to protect what would be born through, because chosen people don't just receive blessing, they become them. And then one day, it happened. Not with thunder, not with applause, but with peace. You wake up, and the weight that's been pressing on your chest for months is gone. The storm didn't end because you escaped it. It ended because you learned how to stand in. That's how divine shifts work. They arrive quietly, but change everything. The job that once drained you suddenly opens new doors. The people who left are replaced by ones who see you. The idea you buried in doubt begins to breathe again. And you realize the waiting didn't break you. It built you. Every unanswered prayer became a blueprint. Every closed door became direction. Every loss rewired your heart for abundance. That's when you finally understand. God never withheld the blessing. He was sculpting you into it, because abundance isn't something you receive. It's something you become. And once you become it, you stop chasing what was never meant to run and start attracting what was always yours. This is the shift. Not in your bank account, not in your circumstances, in your frequency. The day your faith stops begging and starts creating.